Well, hello everyone. It is Bukeka style, and we are here for another incredible episode of OnStage on FAVunite TV. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I always have amazing guests. This is no exception. And so we are really excited today. Let me just tell you a little bit about our guest today. We are going to be talking to a wonderful human being, Professor Antwan Daniels. He started his beginnings in Oak Cliff, a community in Dallas, Texas, to his current desires to serve an amazing population in the greater Kansas City area. Professor Antwan Daniels is a chemistry professor. And with 12 years of experience in teaching chemistry, college chemistry, he has taught 113 courses and served over 2,100 learners. Professor Daniels has authored 5 peer-reviewed research papers presented annually at conferences and meetings, and has an intrinsic passion for the learning of chemistry. His guiding quote is, "I never want to be right, but I need us to get it right." Professor Daniels is currently pursuing a Ph.D. in higher education with a focus on improving success outcomes for students in introductory chemistry courses. And what I was sharing with Dr. Daniels, or soon to be Dr. Daniels, is that my son Delbert was a chemistry major. And so I was always supportive of him as a motivator and inspirer, but I could not tell him any answers to any of his questions. So let's go ahead and get our soon-to-be Dr. Daniels, but Professor Antwan Daniels on stage with us on FAVunite TV. Professor Daniels, go ahead and come on stage with us today. And you can unmute. Professor Daniels, or yes, Professor Daniels, can you go ahead and unmute for us? Professor Daniels?
Yes, I'm here now. Hello.
Wonderful. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for being with us on stage on FAVunite. How are you today?
Great. It's a great Thursday in Kansas City, and looking forward to having a great conversation, crucial conversations that change the thought process.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yes, I was just sharing with the audience about my son Delbert as a chemistry major, and so he's gonna love this interview. He's gonna love this interview, and because of that, I've got my notes, and you know why? Because I never want to be right. I need to get it right.
There we go. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Yes, yes. Great to hear that.
Yes.
That quote really has been valuable to me. I took about 18 years ago. Yeah, I'm 44, so I was about 26. I was just getting to that next level of manhood, and I was looking at my kids playing and stuff, and I was like, you know what? It ain't about me. It's about we. If we understand how we can do this thing together, then we'll get there. But if it's me just trying to drive it and it's my way, it won't work out. It won't work.
So true. So
Yeah.
true. And that seems to be getting more and more true with every generation.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes. Well, we've
Mhm.
got some incredible questions here for you. And, with 12 years of experience and 113 courses taught, what would you say has been the most significant evolution you've observed in community college chemistry students? And how have you adapted your teaching to meet those changes?
It's been twofold. So it's been, I guess you could say, a driver going up and then so a driver going down. Uh, One driver going up is their self-agency. Is them able to ask for what they believe they need through accommodations, through modified testing schedules, through different may it be more practice on problems, more time in class, the ability to say that, hey, this is what works for me. I've seen that become more prevalent and more effective in the classroom setting. Then I've also seen the more bubble down of a driver down of students who are to the point where they don't know what to say. They don't feel they don't have their niche. They don't have their voice. They don't know where they are in life. And instead of being more receptive, they just kind of become insult, become almost like a cocoon, like almost. Not saying they will form one day, but they kind of become bubble like, and they just stick to themselves. And those are the ones that I'm really looking into more, which hopefully one of my research will bring up the male malaise that I'm kind of seeing amongst men who feel like they're not, they're not, I'm not this and I'm not this, but then what am I? So,
Right.
so I've seen that in
Yeah.
chemistry. I see that in chemistry, probably the greatest dynamic is self-agency and then the cocooning effect of just being quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you know, FAVunite is a platform, an inclusive platform,
Sure.
and we also want to make sure that we're amplifying the voices and stories of the Black community and throughout the African diaspora. And I
Yes.
know that, again, just kind of referencing back to my son, having the desire and the passion for chemistry rather than some of the more uh, types of careers that are expected of Black men in particular, that I can understand what you mean by that. It can be a very isolating experience.
Yes, yes, very much so. And then to other experiences, I try to create, like I say in the classroom, I say people will say your network determines your net worth, and I say that's beautiful. But I say in this space we do nest work. So I put an S in there, and we make a nest that you can grow and be nourished in and developed in and be challenged, and then you'll one day have to fly away, but you always know that nest was there where your connections lie. And I try to be that
Yeah.
valuable place in many students. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. So you've achieved impressive impressive success rates of 70% of higher uh, using or you've achieved impressive success rates of 70% or higher using a constructivist theory of learning. Can you explain the core tenets of this approach and offer an example of how it plays out in a classroom setting? Professor Daniels, looks like we might be frozen at the moment. Can you check your connection for me? There we go.
I want to
Okay.
change computers also because something's going on. But yes, so yes, the constructivist theory is based off of the fact that we all come into this place with our own platform, with our own foundation. We all come from these lived experiences, and to negate those experiences and to overlook those experiences and just say, "Oh, we do chemistry here," then you're actually dis- not destroying, but deconstructing learned pathways. The brain is about schema and schemata is about neural pathways that say, yes, I think like this, and I move like this. So you want to still trying to deconstruct those pathways. You want to build up for it. So we do scaffolding. The constructivist theory is based off of a scaffolding mindset, but also a feedback loop. There's a constant feedback loop. One of my great quotes is failure is never final forever, but it is feedback. And so in the feedback loop, you're continuously looking for ways to improve, to gather more knowledge, and then to put that back into the situation of the learning cycle and then be valuable. Way I do that is by letting people take online quizzes twice, multiple attempts on homework, uh, uh, chances to reassess things in the classroom space when you have things going on, looking at your lab, making sure, giving you very challenging labs from the first lab and trying to show you that pathway, marking, making those negative points may come out, but also giving micro affirmations that to say, hey, you're on the right path. You didn't get a 17 out of 20. Well, you got a 17 out of 20. Next time you'll get 20 out of 20. And those kind of things. So those micro affirmations give you a space to build off your platform. As we was just talking about asthma, and a student from Grand Valley brought up the way that they learned about asthma in sixth grade was breathing through a straw and having to draw while breathing through a straw and closing your nose. That experiment had never been said before from a bunch of students. Now these students are wondering, how does this look? Well, people say, what's that got to do with chemistry? Well, in chemistry, we have gas laws. One of our biggest gas laws is Boyle's law. Pressure P1 times V1, P2 times V2. And so if the pressure is set to where it's going to be, but the volume has been decreased by a great deal, you're going to put a great amount of pressure on the system. And that's the breathing through the straw. So it's chemistry in action, but it was from a lived experience of a student that made the classroom now say, we should try it in class. If it draws more,
Ah,
yes. And so pressure versus volume, a gas law can be modified just like that. You can even go a little bit deeper into it if you was go into a cool room versus a hot go outside in the heat. You would see another gas law being exposed over the volume and temperature. Then you have Charles law in place about if it's hot outside, would you be able to get more air than you would in a colder room? So those kind of things kind of all come to life when you let people build off of their skill sets.
I love it. I love it. And thank you for addressing or using an example that is something that I deal with, which is asthma. Fortunately, not on a very an overwhelmingly challenged basis, but certainly something that I've had to find remedies for decades. You know, whether it's something that is more natural or an inhaler or something of that nature, depending upon the severity of the situation. I remember when I was a little girl at the time, they didn't have inhalers. You know, they had this god awful medicine. And it's one of those memories that you just never forget. It tasted like a combination of bubble gum and something horrible, but it was some kind of liquidy thing that I had to take. And gosh, I'm so glad that chemistry has come a long way when it comes to dealing with remedying the effects of asthma. So thanks you for sharing that story because it did hit close to home. Um, Let me ask you this. You're currently pursuing your doctorate, focusing on improving success outcomes in introductory chemistry courses. Can you share a before and after story? Something that kind of tells us uh, the struggles in chemistry, but you've thrived and after experiencing your teaching methods. Oh, I think okay. Let me ask that question again. Because we're gonna edit. We're gonna do all the edits, right? So let me ask that question again since it kind of dropped out.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm
So
changing right now. Yes,
okay.
yes.
So
Okay. Yes. Well, question.
let
The question you
say
had.
again.
What was the question you had?
Oh, okay. So the question is, you're currently pursuing your doctorate on improving success outcomes in introductory chemistry courses. Can
Yes.
you share a before and after story, a success story of a student who significantly struggled in chemistry but thrived after experiencing your teaching methods?
So I have multiple stories of that. I have Dallas story. I have Memphis, Tennessee stories. I have Uber. I can go deep. So I have one that was just last spring. So I was a student of mine who in 2021, 2022, no, excuse me, 2012, she graduated from Paseo High School and Academy, and she was eager about school. She started school. She was living with her grandmother, and she did about a year of school with some challenges. Grandmother passed, and then she had to stop going to school effectively because she couldn't keep up with the pace, and she began to work. And then she around 2016, she took a chemistry course because she was thinking about going in nursing. She dropped that course within the first 2 weeks, just with too much of the front loading of the information. And then she came back and took that same course in 22, right after COVID, because of COVID. She said, you know what, I'm going to go back. So she started back in 22, taking one course a semester only to get her paperwork ready to become she wants to be a radiology tech. And then, a young black lady in the field from the third district of Kansas City. She then was the second time in chemistry from 2016, then in 22, and then she heard about me. And she said, people say you are great. And I say, well, I don't know about all that, but let's try it out. And she came to me, and it was just this, they call it CRT, culturally relevant teaching, where I disarmed that fight or flight syndrome that people have initially in class. When you will start class with, this is how we're going to do it. We have math first. If you can't handle the math, it's sink or swim like mindset. And so I reconfigure how we approach this with what they call the molecular approach first. You can approach chemistry from a molecular approach on the front end, and then get to the math later, or you can approach it from the atomic approach and go math first, math models first. And math models first, it has a right, but it also has a you will lose students very early on if they don't have their textbook bought already. They'll fall behind and they can't even catch up if they don't have the math prerequisite skills because they haven't been in school for it a long time. They may have took college algebra 3 years ago when they needed it and they're taking one course at a time. And so on her third try, she got her associates, walked across the stage for MCC, taking me. And it was because that model that I took on where she was able to build some things during lab. So I would embed lab techniques that drive you to the math, such as density, such as significant figures, scientific measurements, but not in the book initially, not in the right now assignments being due, called knowledge checks and summative assessments. I would embed it in the lab where you have more of a setting where you can engage and collaborate, talk with students who may get it faster than you and get that coaching, that one-on-one time, instead of you getting a book and going home with some problems where you're stuck on your own. So in the old school way of teaching, this is called recitation. So I have a model where I kind of embed some recitation inside of my laboratory setting where we're doing a lab, but I'm really trying to get you to do what they call down in Louisiana at Southern University, they call schools laboratories, and trying to get them to think and maneuver their mind in a constructivist way in a community of learners. Yeah, so that's one way right there that was different than when early on, but works now for that student right there in particular. And they are in the MCC Radiology Tech program now, Metropolitan Community College.
I mean, I know you probably aren't tooting your own horn. I mean, I know you're doing the work so that you can create more stories like that. Or so because you want to see more stories like that. That it goes back to that quote, you don't need to be right, but you want us to get it right. And that's I just want you to know that from a mother of a chemistry student, how powerful that is. And it's, because sometimes you just need to hear it. And so I just want you to hear how powerful that is, because that experience, first of all, she had the perseverance and the determination, which is very important for her success. But that perseverance and that determination met up with you. And when that met up with you, it gave her a chance to see the trajectory of her life change. So I hope you really hear that. We're, you're on mute right now. You're on mute right now.
I'm going to transfer to my other Wi-Fi, so you're going to see me come in again from a different way. I apologize for this.
Okay,
We just
that's
yes.
that's
And so
okay.
yeah,
Like
so you were saying the mother of a chemistry student.
yeah, what I was saying is that that coming from that experience, I wanted you to know how important that moment is for that person's life. Because true, she did have or does have the determination and the perseverance to continue on with something that she's passionate about. But because she had that, she met up with you. And meeting up with you, plus having that determination, has totally made has totally transformed her life. It's completely changed the trajectory of her experience. And I wanted you to know, I wanted you to hear that that is something that is a part of great work that you're doing. And you might not hear that all the time, but just to let you know, you're doing great work.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, I heard from a student. I started hearing it more when I first came to Kansas City. It was like they wasn't too big on me, and I was like, oh, this guy's crazy. He's doing all this talking, and he's doing all this and doing all this, and so
See, we've got, hold on one second. Do you want to speak from this camera? From this from
Here we
this
go. Yeah.
system? Is that better?
Thank you. So yes,
Okay.
I know it's valuable. I heard more from students now that write me a letter. I had one student who occupational therapy. Now she is low blindness and is on the spectrum, and she was able to have this course, and she is now going to graduate this December with an occupational therapy OCT, yes, OCT degree, and she's going to work with a not a shelter, but a place for kids who are physically challenged. And she's going to be there working with them, modifying sports with them. But chemistry was one that was the class that was keeping her from getting to that next level.
Right.
She did biology. She figured that out pretty well. She did her algebra. She figured that pretty well. But and she actually, now this is kind of a strange thing, not to brag on my own textbook. She took me she took me spring 22, yes, make sure I got the right, spring 22, when I was using a different publisher for my textbook. She dropped the course by the first exam. She came back to me fall 23, like came back to my class. I'm like, I knew I saw her name on the roster. I was so happy to see her again. She came back to me with my new textbook that I wrote myself to my publisher, Great River Learning. She came back to me and she flourished. She made an A in the course.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
was just that pivot of the way I approached it, the way I saw her, even my own self-confidence. I guess I was going
Yeah.
through the throes of writing the book, and I didn't feel like I had my own doubts about who can I say who that I can really do this. So I took a 23 chapter content down to 14 chapters. And
Okay.
that was a behemoth. It took about 12 months when it was all, no, about 14 months when it was all said and done to get. Well, we released it a little bit early in the summer to try it out. But yes, so I know that it's some things that I'm doing well that work for the students. And in stories like that, they say, yes, keep going.
Yeah, it's an affirmation. It's an affirmation that says you're on the right track. Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you, thank you. Yes,
Okay.
got good connection now. Yes.
Yes, it's great.
Yes.
It's perfect. Okay. So, uh, you have a transition from your proud beginnings in Oak Cliff to serving the greater Kansas City area. How has your personal background and connection to the community influenced the passion you have for teaching and for advocacy?
Well, I will say it gets a little awkward sometimes because people be like, why does he care about science so much? Or why does he care about people so much? And this word care, CAARE, is one that I just think that I grew up in a family where we, we had things, but we didn't have a lot of things, but we cared about each other. So that meant that if I had to help you get on a bus to get you to wherever you need to go to college if you had to, we were going to figure it out. And we cared about you. Because we care about you, we're going to do these things. And so many people, when I meet them for the first time, be like, why does he care? And I'm like, yeah. And it was so funny when I first said the term, I said, I told somebody, I'm rooting for you. You take care now. They thought I was just saying like take care, like go on somewhere. I'm like, no, I mean you take care now. I follow up with him by email and say, how's it going? You're like, oh, you really meant that? I'm like, yeah, how's it going? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so he was like, so what? So one of my buddies now, he's like, when Kansas City people say take care, don't mean the same thing. I said, oh, okay, I guess. He said, you know what? He said, you're right. I stopped saying good luck with that because good luck with that really don't mean good luck with that.
Right, exactly, exactly.
And
And
so those
I'm so glad you said that. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so like you said, so the transition of being this crazy Texas guy, some people were kind of push offers at first. They was like, God, go, and then no, no, no. And then like just this week was probably affirmation. I got the award. I don't want to overstate it, but it's called Masters on the Move. And one person from the administrative level, from the staff level, and the faculty level are recognized by Metropolitan Community College of Kansas City as being the masters on the move. And so I was recognized as the faculty, one out of 217, to be considered one of the best faculty of MCC. And so, but
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations.
But the start of this, thank you so much. Thank you. But the start of this didn't look like this. I mean, people was shooting me down and saying this doesn't work. It's not going to work. And people would ignore me in conversations. They would turn their back when I was talking. They would turn their Zoom cameras off when I started talking and things of that nature. And I took a lot of heat. I mean, a lot of heat. I did things that were bold, but I listened. That's the whole thing. No matter what, I always listened. And even if I don't agree with something, which is fine, because it's not about me, I'm going to listen and think through
Yeah,
things with you. And so that's one thing that's came from Kansas City, from Dallas to Kansas City, my ability to listen. I wanted that to be my superpower one day, is listening.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
That is a superpower, one that we desperately need to perfect, I think, in these days and times to listen to one another.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let's try. Let's keep trying.
Let's keep trying. Yes. Okay. Um, you've contributed to committees focused on improving outcomes for minorities in science. What concrete actions or resources do you believe need to be made more public and visible to successfully increase minority representation in STEM?
Ooh, you asked some tough questions. Like you solving the world, man. Miss Blake, oh wow, Miss Blakemore, you got me with this one. I want to say, well, the numbers have increased. Representation of women in physics and math have increased. Chemistry always had a level of women in it, and it didn't have many native-born blacks and not many Latinos. historically. And that was due to the way they approached it early on. It became a good old boys club in the 1990s, the early 2000s. It was when they figured out, it was when companies like Pfizer and Merck figured out that we're missing a whole population of people if we don't start to expand our thought process.
Right.
And so it was a ROI strategy to kind of bring more people along and to get more people in the fold. And so to go back to your question, um, what has worked the greatest, I think, and so I did some research. So I go to a space, place, and face of Black STEM in Kansas City. As a research that I did, 32 participant study, quantitative, qualitative, that was done with people such as Fatima Parrish, who's a computer science engineer of Parrish and Sons. I did it with Catalent uh, workers. I did it with employees from J.E. Dunn and those things in the STEM fields. What we saw was that microaggressions do cause a lowering, a cocooning almost, of where you don't share your best stuff. You don't trust it from no one else. And that decreases your ability to really engage in meetings, to be involved, to bring your best and most self to the space in the
Right.
workspace. Then the second thing that leads to over time of this Black fatigue. It's called Black fatigue. It was quantitated back in 2019 and 22 that it is a value of called Black fatigue, and it's this
Hmm.
pressure burden that it's totally invisible to everyone else until you put those components on it of your race, your background. They do these things like these microaggressions, but then what did bubble up was affinity groups, was
Okay.
people that says there's a space and a place for you, and your face matters. Talk with a chemistry major who was working for a company where she had to cocoon herself in his workspace. She left that company, chemistry major, left that company, went to a company that was doing frozen foods, and her background, her culture of being Jamaican, it helped. It came out, and she was able to help craft a meal that was less than 1,000 calories, that was high on protein, low on carbs, and became one of their best sellers of 2024. All because she was able to bring her culture and her best self to work, where she didn't have to lessen herself or to attenuate her effect. And so she was able to leave companies and bring that value to the market for that company. That company was able to take some products that were normally just a little bit marginal into a more greater success financially because she brought her best self to it. But that company also had an affinity group that brought her that talked to her and it coached her, and then they were able to lift her up. And so I see that taking place. That's one of the biggest things is the getting to environments where your best self is seen and heard. And so making sure that it's about that. Many times in chemistry, many people they hid behind the fact of, oh, the best scientists. But what I learned was it wasn't always the best scientists. It was the best beer buddy. It was the best rugby player that you played with. It was the best person you went to go play soccer with on Saturday. It was the best church member of yours. It was everything else. And it wasn't what they were saying it was sometimes. So those affinity groups, I believe, are powerful.
That is powerful. I
Yes.
things you just never think of. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for that.
Yes.
So you've served on faculties on 5 different colleges. What is the common trigger, perhaps a specific challenge or a hurdle, an institutional hurdle? Somewhat what you've just addressed. Have you consistently observed across diverse academic environments? For example, my father, he's retired now. He's professor emeritus of sociology
Okay.
in from Central Michigan University. And we talk about this, at times, the institutional hurdles that take place. So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, they look different. I will say dating back to 2006 and 7, 8 to 2025, they actually look different. They don't look the same. In 2006, the hurdle was um what's that called? Fixed mindset. This is how it's going to be. This is how we do it. If you don't like it, give it the program. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Okay.
That was the yeah, that was the hurdle probably 2006 to 2012. It was in 2012 I started seeing a shift towards okay. I think it probably came of the empathy. Dr. Nicole Price talks about empathy a great deal. She's amazing. She's wrote books on it. Kansas City native Nicole Price. She we learned, I think, from the collapse of the economy, the housing crisis, all those things. The empathy then took off, and we understood. And then at the community college, especially, we got boom with the greatest surge of students who were going back to college to retool those mid career changes. It had always existed, but it exploded during this time. From 2012 to 2016, you have some of the highest enrollments of community colleges across America take place due to this great wealth gap and this great wealth decrease. We saw that. So that made people change, administrators, staff. There was staff that retired. They couldn't deal with having to talk with people with neck tattoos or with these kind of things and this kind of things. Like, what's what I'm doing? Like humans need humans. And so humanity and empathy was a challenge then. And we've kind of gone through that curve now. We know that it was a fixed mindset versus lack of empathy. And now what we see now is scary. It's scary. And I won't go political too much, but it's this like people know something's not right. It's like if George Floyd became our neighbor and you know that something's off her. And it's not just George Floyd's black skin, it's just the challenges for rural population. We knew that we had made this little box of people who should be college students or who should be doing well or who should be. And we know that this box is like, this box doesn't really exist. We made up a box that thought that, oh, this is what good looks like.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And now we see a young male who is a gay young black man who's amazing at chemistry too. But in the past, we took their our own phobias and displayed them against them and didn't make a place that was conducive for them to learn and kind of pushed them out.
Right.
So now the people we were pushing out, we're on the outside with them. So I see that with college now, is we're right there with them, and we didn't know that we are gonna be right there. We didn't know that this humanity would catch up and would become normalized and flat. Um, Freeman wrote a book called The World is Flat many years ago, like 20 years ago at least. The world is flat. Now education is flat. University from Harvard to community colleges to trade school, all together, we know we are no longer can we see ourselves in these so-called hierarchies. So the flattening of the hierarchy is what I see now. So a fixed mindset 2006, lack of empathy 2012, and then the flattening of the hierarchy now. I'm
Okay.
gonna talk too long. Yeah, I'm gonna talk too.
Oh, no, 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 no. This makes a lot of sense. I can't wait for my son and my dad to see this interview. This is great. This is
Yes,
great.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
let's see here. Um, let's go to, you sent me a couple of posts in our LinkedIn
Oh, okay.
communication. And you sent me one that was relevant to indigenous culture. And that's something that really speaks to my heart. I've got several friends that we really understand the power of indigenous learning, of indigenous uh, uh, community, and how that particular way of being is very empathetic, is very connectivity driven.
Yes.
Uh, tell us about tell us about your connection and with indigenous learning. How does that weave in with chemistry?
Okay, so yeah, so they were one of the most best chemists. I mean, we use the whole term shaman and medicine man. They were amazing chemists. I mean, their level for understanding. I mean, even when they had the new people to America, the new Americans show up and get diseases, they were able to inoculate over time and to recapitulate and not be killed behind these things. They were able to see plants and to study them and see their behaviors, their leaf textures, to make ointments that would heal and would serve to make things that were sometimes protecting agents. I mean, they were doing this holistic medication way before we thought in on America. We thought we knew what we was doing. Okay, the healing stones and all that stuff, yes, but they were then bastardized and criticized due to their culture. But what's so crazy is those same molecules that they're working on now corporations are buying those things,
Oh yeah,
trying to remake them, reformulate them. I mean, there are people
and
who
put
are,
high price tags to them.
yes, we're talking about 15 times the cost and doing all these things and not even as effective because you got all these things. I'm a medicinal chemist, not even as effective because truly, I let the cat out the bag. Medications only have to work for 25% of the people, 50% of the time.
Wow.
25%
Cat's out the
of the
bag, folks.
the study population, half of the time. So really
Wow.
12.5% almost. But anyway, but of the study population. And you're approved. And so now what happened was my bloodline is not Native American through East Texas, but my growth in Langston University, the historical Black College of Oklahoma, has a large population of indigenous people, and I actually was able to go to a campfire many years ago, a cultural revolution, and see the culture. And there I heard a quote when I was 19 years old in Oklahoma that says, "There are no children here. Every child is born with the history and ingrained knowledge of their forefathers, so that there are no 1 year olds. You're born into this legacy, and that's not just about you just taking care of your kids, which is beautiful, but it's also about the fact that you have to be connected to something, and you can't say this term, I come from nothing. Impossible. There is a
Right.
lived history and story in that. And so the quote I shared with you was about the buffalo. Now, to go racial again, many of the new Americans then, they couldn't deal with the buffalo. They didn't know how to deal with the buffalo, but the indigenous people, they were connected with the buffalo. They traveled with them. They studied them. They understood what was happening. They knew to go to low ground or go to caves when you saw the buffalo begin to migrate this way or that way because the storm was coming. So the quote was about that the buffalo is one of the few large animals that will go into the storm. And they go into the storm because they form a formation that protects their vulnerable and weak and makes sure that they're strong or are in the right capacity and that the vulnerable or weak are protected. Or even in some cases, they're ones who they understand that their time has been done. They'll go to the front to take on the brunt of the storm while you protect the inside and you go through it together. You'll get through the storm faster if you get in formation and go through it together. And so they understood that, and that was part of their culture and their work. And so in different ones, in particular the Seminoles of Oklahoma. Yes.
Wow. Is there a terminology for that?
Oh,
That
I
kind of
wouldn't know the exact terminology. I don't want to misquote it, but there are terms that they use. Some of it is in their native language also. It's probably why I don't know it. Some of it is based on their native language. But I was at a powwow in 2001, no 2000, yes, and that's when I said, okay, this is something's going on here. Something's happening here,
wow.
amazing. And I just didn't know it because I was young, young in
Yeah.
college. But as I got older, I started to see it. I started to see the little small things that would say. I would meet an indigenous person, and he said a funny thing. He said, "Sleep with a knife up under your bed and cut your words in half." I'm like, "Huh, what's going on?" Just stuff like that. But it didn't come from him. It came from his grandfather and her
Right,
father, and those
right.
things. And so it's just, so things
That's
like that.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna. I just want to close with a couple of things. I do want to make sure that
Yes.
I reference the fact that you have authored 5 peer-reviewed research papers, and and you're looking uh, to again to pursue your doctorate. Looking ahead 5 years, what is the one high-level research question or say service goal you hope to have successfully addressed or achieved?
Ooh, ooh. Yeah. I'm like, wow, you got your dad is really in you. He's shining through you all the way. Yeah. My mom's gonna love this also. My dad's gonna love it. He's gonna be like, oh, okay, okay. So my dad
Right. Good.
and my fiance's gonna really like it too. So people, I can't wait till
Good.
I share it out. But okay, so it's challenging. Let me reread it to myself real fast. Let me reread it to myself. What is the one high level research question or service goal you hope to? Okay. Outside of PhD is about self-efficacy in chemistry and getting those students to believe that they can do it. And it's focused on first generation students in chemistry. And this sounds crazy, but no one has the data of chemistry self-efficacy of first generation students in chemistry one. It's the third most needed course to vector out into a degree, a STEM degree. First is algebra one, then biology, and then chemistry. It's the third most needed course. It's considered the cut course. So I moved it from being a gatekeeper course into a pathway. I see chemistry as a pathway. And so the high level research question, I'm gonna go with so Melissa Robinson has worked with the Urban Institute to do some things in research about self about upward mobility, upward economic mobility. And so I think of looking at certain zip codes 64109, 64127, 128, and 130 to look at what keeps people, what makes them feel economic self-efficacy in their space where they're at without having to leave. So I would say my high level research question is what keeps people to have place-based methods that say, yes, I can thrive from 31st and Prospect. I can reach my full economic potential from Benton Boulevard. That would be my high-level research question. And then to use the health forward mindset with Keanu Thompson over there, CEO of Theory in Action, to say, okay, you did this part. Now the service time comes. What does it look like in action? Is it places that are WIC store focused? Is it making sure that we can have babies here that get folic acid and get their needs met from a WIC mindset? Is it making sure that we have connectivity through the mobility of the busing and the different ways of moving people across Kansas City to reach their economic potential without having to leave your place in space? And so that would be the service. So I got some work to do, but I'm not alone. I'm not alone. It's people like you out here. I know that they're doing the work also. Yes.
Well, how exciting that is because with that research, which is big, but the enormity of that, once that comes to a place of publication, once people can really see that they can thrive where they are, imagine all of the different implications that
Oh,
has.
yes.
Uh, just the ability for that whole region to thrive economically, for the ability for businesses, for more education. That's huge. And so I really commend you for that. Really commend you for that. And that leads me to my last question,
Okay.
which is one thing I ask all of my guests, is when it comes to self-worth and worthiness, which I believe is inherent. I believe that we are all inherently worthy. What is your what's the message that you would give, especially to your students, to your chemistry students, about feeling a sense of self-worth?
Okay. I use the term see and serve all a lot. I like to go to my business approach of 5S, which stands for a scientist seeking strategic, sustainable solutions. I just secured a contract. I call it a contract, but it's people consider it hard work. I consider it more hard work, and I'm doing some hard work of doing cool kids chemistry with a population of fifth graders who have been challenged with scores on the state map test in Missouri for science that are considered to be low, but have room for growth. And so to go into those settings and to work with those students and to say, I can go in there and be valuable to them and grow this science literacy and confidence through cool kids chemistry, through micro affirmations to saying yes you can, yes you did. We have the artifacts of work to say you did it. You made soap, you made a bath bomb, you did this, you made a organic reaction, and you're a fifth grader. Okay, you thought this through. You belong here. There's space, place, and your face belongs here. And so I think that is one of the biggest things I try to do through chemistry. And 5S is doing that. I want to work with the upper room to work on a Hall Family Foundation grant to say, hey, let's get bigger and better with this. So seeing and serving people is where I stand on this, and want to see more growth and development. And I want to have more joy. Let's leave with joy.
Yes.
It needs to be
Let's
more
leave.
joy. I need to see. And my quote I like to use real fast, but all, and we must see truth on truth. We must have more peace on Paseo and more prosperity on prospect. There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
So how can people reach you? Do you have a website? Do you have
Oh, okay.
any of
Yes.
those things? How can people connect with you?
Oh, well, yes, 5S has built our website through KC Gift. KC Gift was a early supporter of me, showing me how to grow the business, to tighten things up, to serve these multitude of needs. So www.5sllc.com is keeping it real simple on that, and you show up and you'll see some of the programs working on this thing called the 4Ps that I learned from Cornell Ellis in a book study he had called Power, Privilege, Persecuted, Prevented. And how do we see ourselves in these quadrants? And then what allows the mobility between these quadrants versus power, privilege, persecuted, prevented. And so you'll see those kind of things on the website. Also do LinkedIn. Antwan Daniels on LinkedIn. I'm always posting and sharing stuff, reposting, love to amplify the work. And Adriana Pacina doing a good work, help forward. Just shared her out. I'm able to see the priest Taylor with Casey Current, and so LinkedIn.
Yes.
I'm on Facebook, but that's more just funny stuff on Facebook. That's just more like funny stuff. And then my email is kcscigui@gmail.com. KC Saga.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well,
Yes.
Professor Daniels, thank you so, so very much for being with us on stage on FAVunite TV. Remember, everyone, that FAV stands for Fans, Artists, and Venues, and we know that you are now a fan of Professor Antwan
Yes.
Daniels. And thank you
Yes.
so
Yes.
much for again for being here and for giving us some well needed knowledge that
Yes.
we can all learn from. So thank you everyone for watching on stage on FAVunite TV, and have a wonderful day.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you for watching On Stage on FAVunite TV. If you're new to FAVunite TV and you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a comment below, give us a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. If you'd like to see more content from FAVunite TV, go ahead and subscribe. We're here for Black stories and Black storytellers. We're showcasing the culture on FAVunite TV.